So guys, I want to talk a little bit about Halo Wars 2 at RTX. So if you guys don't know, RTX is a big thing hosted by the Rooster Teeth guys, and 343 was actually there. They had a nice little panel and stuff. Kiki Wolfkill, Dan Ayub, as well as Tom French were there, and they actually talked a little bit about some of the things coming to Halo 5 soon, such as a full-out file browser that actually looks very similar to the one that Doom uses. Doom has its own file share system for its snap map mode, and that's pretty good because Doom has a very damn good file share system. They also talked a little bit more about Halo Wars 2 and the brutes returning for Halo Wars 2, as well as some of the backstories and some of the things that are going on. They also showed off some of the art and the things that they're doing to the original designs to kind of brutify them, you know, so to speak, but it's actually pretty cool stuff. And honestly, watching this live stream, there was like a twinkle inside of me. Like, because you guys know that I've been very down on the Halo series lately and stuff. I actually had an emotional breakdown like a week ago or something, because I had to play Halo 5 every day, and sadly, you know, uploading Halo every day began to take its toll on me. I didn't have a proper schedule set up, and pretty much playing Halo exclusively like a job, trying to get good gameplay and stuff, trying to unlock new content, and just trying to think of like videos regarding Halo 5 to talk about every single day. Like, it really, you know, it wore on me, and it also impacted some of my personal relationships and stuff. You know, I lost a few friends, sadly, because I didn't have any free time, and that was my own fault. But watching this RTX thing, I actually began to feel a lot better about the Halo series, because after my, you know, breakdown, I took a massive, like, week break, or not a week, I want to say like 5 days, a break from the Halo series. I didn't play any Halo. I took down my Halo posters that I got hanging in my game room. I got rid of a lot of my Halo action figures, put them in, you know, probably in my closet or something. Honestly, I gotta get them out. But, so, you know, I took a nice, needed break from the Halo series, and now I'm like juiced up, I'm ready to go and stuff, and the RTX panel about Halo Wars 2 rejuvenated a lot of my interest in Halo again, and I actually want to explain why. So, Halo 5, in my personal opinion, it damaged the series a lot in terms of its storytelling, in terms of its universe, in terms of its characters. It did a lot of damage, and I don't say damage in terms of like, you know, oh, what's Cortana gonna do next? I mean damage as in it told its story so poorly, it so poorly misunderstood its own characters like Cortana, that it honestly almost like ripped me right out of the Halo universe. Because before, with Bungie's Halo games, you know, I like Bungie's Halo games. I like the story that they were setting up. In Halo 4, it was just more stuff, and honestly, it was even stuff from the books that I love. It was cool seeing Halo 4 bringing in material from the expanded universe and fleshing out themes that Bungie were too afraid to touch. And Halo 4's story, I appreciated so much. Even the Spartan Ops, as repetitive as it was, I liked the story that it was setting up. I did think, you know, it was getting a little bit too crazy in terms of, like, you know, oh, it's this big, like, galaxy-changing event. I'm like, oh, guys, don't go there yet. Please, you gotta have a little bit of build-up, you know? You can't do the whole apocalyptic scenario quite yet. You need to, you know, give us some time to flesh out this new universe that you're starting more. But it was still cool. I wanted to see more of the Halo universe. I wanted to see the books being brought in. I was on board. I was ready for Halo 5. I was so goddamn ready. I wanted to see where things went. I wanted to see Chief, like his humanity being discovered. I wanted to see what Dr. Halsey was going to do with the Janus key and Julim Dama. I wanted to see when he finally met Arbiter on the battlefield and stuff, and just like all these things that they set up and teased, and as well as the Didact. I wanted to see the Didact return. I don't think he was represented as well as he could have been in Halo 4, but from the books, I liked the character of the Didact, and I wanted to see him return and see where his character goes from there, and just everything was converging so perfectly. And then we had Hunt the Truth, and then Halo 5 came out, and it was just like Halo fell on its face. The storytelling just instantly, in one short 4-hour to 5-hour campaign, everything that I loved about the Halo storytelling came crashing down, and I, for the first time in probably my whole life, didn't care about Halo's story anymore. Cortana, I don't care. Whatever. I mean, Halo 5's story flip-flopped her character completely 180 degrees. What's gonna stop them from doing it again with Halo 6 and making her good again? Chief? Who cares? Chief's probably gonna be a pony or something under his suit in the next game because of how sloppy they're just taking plot points and then changing them immediately. And, you know, Halo 4, Spartan Ops, all the time I invested in studying the lore and the themes, just, you know, instantly gone. All of it's gone. It was completely dropped within the first act of Halo 5. Everything that I was growing to appreciate, just gone. And it made me, like, it desensitized me to Halo's story anymore. And for the record, guys, I love good storytelling. I take stories very seriously and stuff. From a young age, my parents had me reading books like Tom Sawyer and stuff. At the age of 9, I read The Great Gatsby. So I like good storytelling. I grew up reading great stories. And so I take literature very seriously, and Halo I viewed as incredible that it was able to hook me for so long, because usually, you know, if a book series keeps going on, eventually, you know, whatever, you'll lose my interest and stuff, or the storytelling will start to waver, and then eventually come crashing to a halt. But Halo had been going on for so long, and it never lost me, and I loved that about Halo. I loved the consistency and the storytelling, and Halo 5, it was a complete and utter halt, and it completely desensitized me to Halo's storytelling. I didn't care about Cortana. I didn't care about Chief. I don't care about Locke. Even Arbiter, I didn't care about. I didn't feel like, oh, it's Arbiter again. No, I was just like, who the hell is this, and why is his name Arbiter? Because he's not acting like the Arbiter that I know. You know, same with Buck. I'm like, whoa, why is Nathan Fillion in this game? And why does he have the name Buck? Because this certainly isn't Buck from Halo 3 ODST. They're not acting the same as characters. And just, it hurt a lot to see the storytelling of this series that I love so much come crashing down in one disappointing game. And, you know, honestly, that's probably a lot of the reasons why, you know, I, like, give Halo 5 such a hard time, and sometimes unfairly so, is probably just because of how personally I took how bad the storytelling was. And so, you know, it's whatever. Halo Wars 2, I didn't care about anymore. Like, whatever. You know, I don't want to see how this story ends. I honestly don't care. The only reason I'm going to be buying future Halo games is because I want to see just how the writers are going to get themselves out of this one. You know, how the hell are they going to keep the series going with this, you know, Halo 5 story? But then we got our first trailer of Halo Wars 2. And then we got the background story. We got the concept art. And we started to see more and more stuff about what the story was going to be, and I became interested again. Because one of the things actually that I really like about Halo Wars 2, which is going to get into my first point, is it's going to be featuring characters who have no clue what's going on. They have no clue what the galaxy is like. Before the events of even Halo 1, this ship, the Spirit of Fire, it basically, all the crew went into sleep, you know, hibernation and stuff, and it just drifted through space. And now, all of the crew have been activated, you know, reawakened, right after the events of Halo 5, right after all of that stuff went down in the Milky Way galaxy. So they're gonna wake up, you know, drifting outside of the Milky Way galaxy, and, you know, obviously they're gonna have to deal with the threat, you know, the story of the game and stuff. They're gonna have to deal with this new Brute faction that they've encountered. But once they get back into the Milky Way galaxy and they see Forerunners walking around and living among humans and stuff, and like Sentinels patrolling the sky, and everyone living under a police state, and Cortana, you know, this new AI has like completely taken over everything, and she's maniacal and power hungry, and they're gonna be like, what happened while we were asleep? And so what's good about this is we're gonna get stuff fleshed out now. Through these characters, things could potentially be made more clear when it comes to Halo 5. One of the worst things about Halo 5's story was how vague it was. It was throwing all these nonsensical plot points at us, like Cortana suddenly out of nowhere becoming an evil dictator with no character build-up or anything. The Warden Eternal, what the hell is that? You know, how is Earth reacting to some of these things? How are the Outer Colonies gonna deal with, like, mass casualties because of Guardian Awakenings and stuff? Through these people who have no clue what is going on, we're gonna get our universe fleshed out properly, and it could honestly repair a lot of the damage that Halo 5's bad storytelling caused to the fabric of the way that Halo tells its stories. Through these new characters, we are going to be brought up to speed because Halo 5 was too vague about its plot, and this is a good thing. We're finally gonna know what is going on, and I'm excited. I want to know details, and through these characters that I actually really like, we're going to learn about that. You know, no longer are we going to be piggybacking off of Locke that we don't care about, following a story that we don't care about. No, we are now going to be following characters that we know and like. And we're going to be learning more about what happened during the events of Halo 5, and that's a good thing. Which now, you know, talking about characters that we know and like, that's going to go into my second point. Halo Wars 2 is bringing back classic characters, and I'm really excited about this. Now, the thing about Buck is, Buck in Halo 5, in my opinion, he did not act in character. It was not the Buck from Halo 3 ODST. But what's nice is the crew of the Spirit of Fire, the way that Halo Wars 1, the way that that story was told, the characters weren't really characters, they were more like kind of chess pieces to get this big, you know, galaxy-spanning story going. You know, they were vague enough that Halo Wars 2, if it wants to expand on their characters, it now has the freedom to. The problem with Halo 5 is that Buck already had an established character. So when Halo 5, you know, tried, like, making Buck completely different and act completely different and even have a southern accent for some reason, like, it didn't work because Buck already has an established character. Well, the crew of the Spirit of Fire, their characters are definitely established, like, we know, you know, what drives them and stuff. We kind of get, you know, okay, you know, this is the sassy one, this is the no-nonsense one, but there's not enough details in who they are, and that's a good thing, because now if Halo Wars 2 wants to, it can begin to reinvent their characters, and we can see more about them, and it will make sense because, you know, based on how vague their characters were in Halo Wars 1, it's alright, you know, there's room to explore who they are in Halo Wars 2, and I'm excited about that. Not only are we going to see characters we know and like, we're gonna learn more about them in Halo Wars 2. And now finally, I do, you know, talking about galaxy-spanning adventures and stuff, this is my third point. One of the things that I do think that Halo has been missing, and as much as I loved Halo 4's story, and the storytelling and the strong themes that it expressed to the player, one of the things that Halo 4 was missing was this sense of just, like, epic, you know, this big, grand scale. I think of, do you guys remember the trailer, the E3 trailer for Halo 3? Remember Chief just walking to the cliff and then seeing the portal to the Ark awakening from the ground and the light, you know, and everything, and just the Halo music and all the ships everywhere and how epic and bombastic it was. It was like, holy crap, this is huge, this thing that's going on, this is incredible, this isn't just about Chief, it's about everybody. And sadly, with Halo 4, it told a very personal story, a very character-driven story. And that's good, and Halo 4's story was good. It told its story incredibly well, but the problem was it didn't do the grandness, the epicness that Halo is known for very well. Halo 4 felt very contained, very alone, very isolated. And hey, maybe that's what they were trying to go for, but sadly, Halo does still need a little bit of, you know, that Star Wars-y feel, where it's this big, you know, galaxy-wide adventure. And With Halo 5, I think they tried and failed to get back at that, and sadly with Halo 5, they made it too big, and they also tried to incorporate character-driven moments in it, but sadly, like, the story was too big, and the character choices were too stupid, and, like, everything just kind of fell apart. Like, it's almost like Halo 5 tried to be the biggest story that the Halo series has ever told, and in a way, it was so big that it collapsed the foundations of how Halo tells a story, and Halo, for the first time, you know, in the series, collapsed under the weight of its own story, and, you know, that's a whole nother video for another day, but with Halo Wars 2, it looks like what we are going to be getting a return of is the big galaxy-spanning adventure again. You know, obviously we will probably get more character moments, more personal moments and stuff, but, you know, just seeing massive armies and ready to clash and stuff, seeing epic cinematic shots, just seeing, like, the dirt, the grit of Halo, we're gonna be seeing that again. We're gonna be seeing this massive war. The Halo Wars 2 trailer from E3, in my opinion, is one of the best trailers that the Halo series has ever had. And honestly, I didn't understand how they were going to be able to top it, how to recapture the feeling of Halo. And they did with this RTX trailer. This RTX trailer had me genuinely excited. I had goosebumps. When the Spartans were trying to get away on their Warthog and you saw the brute choppers behind them kicking up mud and dirt as their headlights kind of illuminated the blackness around them, I was excited again. I was like, oh my god, like, this is so cool, this is so epic! And I wanted to see more, I wanted to see the first cutscene, you know, oh my god, I want to see the Halo Wars 2 story now. It has me excited again. We're gonna get, like, the big epic bombastic adventure that Halo is known for. And my final point, the final thing that definitely was like basically kind of set me as like, alright Halo Wars 2, you know, I'm on board, let's see what you got, was the return of the classic art style. Now, this is something that I've rambled about so much, and, you know, some of you guys who are probably longtime subscribers are probably sick to death, honestly, of me just talking about the damn art style, but the thing is, Halo has a set art style. Halo said, guys, this is what Halo looks like. This is what it will look like from now on. And every single Halo game afterwards followed the art style that Halo Combat Evolved set. Obviously, there would be slight redesigns, like in Halo Combat Evolved to Halo 2, we saw the Marines wearing different armor, but they still followed the Halo art style, the rules that Bungie set for how Halo should look. And then with Halo 3 to Reach and stuff, obviously we saw radical redesigns when it came to the Covenant and stuff. And, you know, some people didn't like the redesigns. For me, personally, I'm not a big fan of the way the elites look in Halo Reach. Even Halo 3, I was kind of like, they're kind of looking a little bit heavy. You know, for me, personally, my favorite looking elites are the ones from Halo 2. I like how long they are. I like how very noble and graceful. They're almost like cats, you know, with the way they move. Every single footstep is exactly where they want it to land. You know, they feel so nimble. But, you know, that's besides the point. But the thing is, well, Halo 3 and Halo Reach is, you know, they redesigned a lot of things. It still followed the rules that Bungie set the guidelines of. This is what a Halo game needs to look like. And while they looked different, they were still undeniably Halo because they followed the rules that Bungie set. And then we saw Halo 4, which, man, Halo 4 made a lot of mistakes, in my opinion, with its art style. The elites no longer looked like elites. In fact, they look more like brutes now than elites. You know, they completely misunderstood the point of the grunts. You know, the grunts, it's weird. You can see their mouths now, and they have, like, sharp teeth, and it's just like, no, you know, like, it doesn't look right. The BR got redesigned, and it was, like, bright silver and stuff. It's like, but the UNSC is black. It's gritty, their weapons are dirty, their weapons are rusty and stuff, you know, and here's the thing, I understand that 343 has lore reasons, but the thing is, they redesigned everything, and then they said, I don't know, technology changed. You know, they redesign everything, and then they come up with an excuse for why they redesigned it. And sadly, because they make the Halo series, whatever they say goes. So they, guys, if they want to, they could make Master Chief just a pony for some reason in Halo 6. And you know what? They'll probably say, oh, Chief in between Halo 5 and 6 did this and this and this, and now he's a pony. And because they said so, it's lore now. Just because they said so doesn't mean it needs to make sense. And Halo 4 sadly committed a lot of cardinal sins and did not follow the art style that Bungie set. The shotgun doesn't look like a shotgun anymore. The Spartans don't look like Spartans anymore. The saw, I mean, the saw doesn't look like it belongs in a Halo game. The saw is a cool gun. It is a really cool gun, but I mean, take the saw and put it in the hands of Sergeant Johnson with his green army BDUs, and you could picture Marines around him with the Halo 3 battle rifles, and the saw would look weirdly out of place with its bright orange stripe and its like weird yellow thing that it's got on the back and its bright silver like metal. It's just like this. Do you guys kind of get what I mean? Like, Halo 4 sadly did not follow the Halo art style. It tried to redesign what Halos look like, but the thing is, Bungie set the rules. This is what Halo looks like, and if you do that, you're gonna create something that isn't what Halo looks like. You know, it's sad to say, but 343, you guys aren't the first ones. You guys didn't create Halo. You're inheriting Halo. And there are certain things that you need to respect as inheritors. And the art style is one of them. Bungie came up with the rules for how a Halo game should look, and you guys need to follow it. And sadly, with Halo 5, we saw some of this stuff going too far. I mean, do you guys remember the rocket launcher from Halo 5? Yeah, you guys remember that? Where the backlash was so strong, 343 was forced to add back in the classic Spanker, and now all the people that make Forge maps, they use the classic Spanker rocket launcher. The Forge Hub team, you know, they seem to be putting Spankers on all of the maps that they make that get into the matchmaking cycle, as well as the Halo 2 BR. You know, now that that's back, nobody's using the Halo 5 BR anymore because the Halo 2 BR looks like something from a Halo game. And so with Halo 5, it's very interesting because we're seeing a clash of art styles. We're seeing old armors returning, we're seeing old weapons returning, and the fact that some of these old classic designs are in Halo 5 is really weird because they look like Halo while the rest of the game kind of doesn't. It obviously looks vaguely Halo, but not Halo enough. You know, the Spartan armors, they're too over-designed. The weapons are, like, look at the Halo 5 SMG. What is that? You know, that's not the SMG that we know and love. And obviously, you know, I've talked a little bit about some of the things that Halo 4 and 5 have done wrong with the art style of Halo, but Halo Wars 2 came and said, you know what, baby? Alright, we are going to do the Halo art style. And this time, we are going to do what we want, but follow Bungie's guidelines. And so with Halo Wars 2, we're actually seeing new vehicles and stuff. We're seeing returns of old vehicles that have been redesigned a little bit. But what's important is that they seem to be following the rules that Bungie had set up. The new redesigns for the Wraiths, they look different. They look very different from your classic Wraith, but it's undeniably a Halo Wraith. And even some of the new original stuff that we're seeing, it looks like something from a Halo game. Some of the new brute vehicles that we saw in the Halo Wars 2 E3 trailer, like that one with like the 6 legs and the rocket launchers on its back, I could imagine that in a Bungie game. Can you guys just picture it right now? Like you're on the Ark in a Scorpion, there's scarabs launching, and then like brute chieftains come in and they got their own batch of vehicles, and that 6-legged, you know, missile launcher is one of those vehicles, and I can picture it being there. Halo Wars 2 is doing so many things right in terms of Halo's art style, and it makes me so excited to see Halo 6 if 343 is now kind of adopting the classic art style. And something that I want you guys to do is, you know, applaud them for this. This is good, the decision to go back to the classic art style, but what we need now is we need to encourage them to stick with it. We like the way that Halo Wars 2 looks. It looks like a classic Halo game, and we want Halo 6 to look like a classic Halo game as well. We want to see those curved battle rifle scopes again. We want to see the classic badass Mjolnir armor again. And what's actually really cool is 343 has set themselves up perfectly to reintroduce the old art style, and it will fall in line with the lore and the canon. So if the Spirit of Fire survives what happens with Halo Wars 2, what can happen now is they can re-enter the Milky Way galaxy. Lasky and Chief and the Resistance, you know, the human resistance, all of their shit is basically useless now because Cortana can monitor it, she can track it and stuff, but the Spirit of Fire, that's carrying all the classic Halo gear. It's carrying all the stuff before, you know, the art style changes of Halo 4 and 5. So what they can do if they want to is they can then say that they're like, oh man, you know, this is outdated technology, but you know what? It's stuff that she can't monitor and track. We can use this to fight back and retake the Milky Way galaxy. And then, you know, obviously after they defeat Cortana and stuff, maybe they just keep that art style. You know, we begin rebuilding civilization again, but they keep that art style, and they can just, the art style can come back, and I hope that they do it for Halo 6. But, you know, guys, this is some of the stuff that Halo Wars 2 has done to me as a Halo fan. Why I'm actually very excited about it, not just because, you know, it's a Halo Wars game, as well as a real-time strategy game, and I'm a real-time strategy game fan, but also thematically and the way that Halo Wars 2 is kind of bringing Halo back to its classic roots. And so I wanted to know what some of you guys think. Just let me know in the comment section below, guys, and I'll see you guys on the next video.
10 seconds.